pleased to invite Dr. Ramnath Sonawane, ex-commissioner of Kalyan-Dombivli Municipal Corporation and ex-CEO of Nagpur Smart City. He is a seasoned urban management professional with over 30 years of experience, including 5 years of senior college teaching. With an MA in English Literature, an LLB, and a PhD in Administrative Communication Strategies, he has led significant urban infrastructure projects, disaster management, public health, and financial planning. He will share his thoughts on urbanization, challenges, and opportunity. Please join me in welcoming him.
Honorable Dr. R. Raju sir, all the dignitaries and distinguished speakers, panelists, guests, and delegates. I'll be very candid and straightforward in my presentation. I must admit, at the initial stage, I was not aware that R. Raju sir is going to be present here. My job has become a little bit difficult when a stalwart like him is present in the hall. How to present and what to say and what not to say. Most important is what not to say. So I'll have to be a little bit cautious, but bear with me if at all I say something out of context. As I said, I would talk about very primary things. When we talk about urbanization that has taken place in developed countries and urbanization that is taking place in India and in other developing countries of Asia is totally different. In 2012, we were 27% urbanized. Now it is 34% in terms of Maharashtra. As on today, it has crossed more than 50%. But when we talk about urbanization, initially I would like to start with some pictures, some photographs, which I have randomly selected. The upper part is comparatively a planned development, and the lower part, another photograph, is of Dhara Islam, taken from above. Is this urbanization? Is my question to you. Is this inclusive development? Is my another question to you. This is, on one hand, our cities during monsoon face problems of waterlogging, flooding, and this is another photograph taken from the national capital Delhi, wherein still water is supplied by a tanker. Delhi Jal Board, जानबूझ के मैंने फोटोग्राफ इसलिए किया, not to criticize but to make you aware how far we are urbanized. Are we truly urbanized? Next is the Bangalore city, the traffic jam on way to Bangalore airport, and another is also from other city. Since the picture I think looks somewhat distorted to me. The footpaths are occupied by hawkers, street vendors, and part of the road is occupied by vehicles, unauthorized parking, illegal parking. Where should the vehicle drivers, how can they find place? Of course, the first right is with the pedestrian. In developed countries, the first right to walk on street rests with the pedestrian. But where are the footpaths? In city like Mumbai, in most of the cities, we don't have adequate footpaths. Next is again taken from the city, one photograph where I have worked for almost 8 years as deputy commissioner, 5 years of municipal commissioner, and still I could not solve this problem of waste disposal. The collection system is in place, transportation system is in place, but the facility for treatment of waste, could not be established. In fact, way back in 1995, Kalyan-Dombivli Municipal Corporation thought of waste to energy project in 1995. I am talking about 1995. Today, I am talking in 2025. 30 years down the line, we could not address this one simple issue, that is treatment of waste. And the simplest solution, which is in Singapore, is incineration. It is the simplest. Singapore has waste treatment plant, waste incineration plant for more than 3,000 metric tons of waste. Whereas here, it's hardly 6 to 700 metric tons a day, and we could not establish that treatment facility in 30 years. Because all the while, when the consultants, when the contractors, when the service providers come to us, they talk that waste is gold, waste is wealth, and then that really distorts our politicians from taking decisions. Because things are well known to you. I have worked in the system, I talk less against the system, but things are known to you. And another thing, why should there be rat pickers like vultures? Sorry to use the word, I do not want to actually belittle the rat pickers. They are really doing great service to us, great service to urban local bodies. But normally we see vultures at the dumping grounds. Whereas here, the poor people, they are compelled to work in most unhygienic conditions. This really torments me. The next is, all our human settlements are along the banks of rivers, and we call rivers as our mothers. Ma Ganga, Ma Narmada, Ma Saraswati. And then what do we do with them? We pollute water bodies by disposing sewage, by dumping waste in water bodies. And even if land is inadequate, there are human habitations, slums, some constructions right in the bed. Forget about the flood line, forget about the buffer zone along the river which needs to be kept. There are slums right in the river beds. And then during monsoon, we city managers have to actually go protect them and provide them the services. I am not against the poor. I also belong to a family of farmer. I am not against poor, but how do we, or why should there be human settlements along the banks of rivers when there is a specific provision in development control rules that there has to be a buffer zone of at least 15 meters. So from river bank, there should not be a single construction allowed within the buffer zone of 15 meters or the high flood line which has been defined. Again, when we talk about inclusive development, this is the difference in private hospital, the kind of treatment that we get, and in government hospitals or corporation hospitals, this is the kind of treatment. During COVID, you must have seen that in most of the government hospitals, even in corridor, patients were being treated. Again, same, I did not elaborate this problem, private school versus government school. When we talk about sustainability and inclusive development and urbanization, this is seen from urban area. The school, municipal school, the kind of building, the kind of facilities which are available there, I want to just point out that stark difference. You know, constitutionally, urban areas are divided into two categories: smaller urban areas, larger urban areas. Municipal councils, nagar panchayats, townships, they are in smaller urban area, and the larger urban areas, municipal corporations, metro cities, and mega cities. These are the challenges in urban management. The governance in metro cities or mega cities, the kind of the human resource available and kind of financial resources available may be in place. Take for example, city like Mumbai has adequate number of employees, has adequate financial resources, but some other cities, they don't have. And inefficiency, normally we often blame the bureaucracy for inefficiency, but which is a fact which cannot be denied. Sorry, I go one by one. Second is resource management. Many a times, my own experience of working in urban local bodies for 30 years tell me that our resources, whether it is human resource, whether it is land, water, energy or finance, the resources are either underutilized or misutilized. It is adequate, no doubt. The resources available are inadequate, but if the available resources are used optimally, then also we can make some difference. We can make the change. Then infrastructure, roads, parking facility, the physical infrastructure and social infrastructure. It is inadequate in most of the cities. Housing shortage, the biggest thing which has resulted into unplanned and unauthorized development. The consequences of this, the demand for housing is increasing, whereas on supply side, providing houses to people with adequate infrastructure, water supply, sewerage facility, garbage collection facility, health facilities. Next is environmental concerns, pollution, water pollution, air pollution, sound pollution. These are the concerns. These are the challenges. And health and sanitation. Pictorially, I have represented everything, I believe. I do not have to explain. Now, these are the opportunities. When we talk about challenges, here I find a group where there are consultants, where there are policymakers, where there are implementers, and there are service providers. This is the group. I must thank Sagar for actually organizing this kind of interaction, wherein all stakeholders, except citizens, I believe, the most important. All others, and of course you are citizens, I am citizen, so almost all stakeholders are here today who can deliberate on these issues, these challenges, but at the same time, after leaving this hall, most of us will probably forget what I can contribute, what I personally can do, because we never ask that question to ourselves. In whatever little way you can, I think today's deliberation should be fruitful. If at all, while leaving this hall, this take away, whatever I can do, I will do it in my own humble way. Way forward is that urbanization is inevitable. No one can stop this process now. When it is inevitable, then it has to be managed efficiently. Available resources must be managed, and all that is required is, you see, most of the cities have development plans, but it is only limited to land use plan. It doesn't talk about the developed infrastructure, social and physical infrastructure that is required and the resources which are required. So when land use plan is prepared, when development plan is prepared, along with development plan, we should also prepare the capital investment plan, then the implementation plan, how it will be actually translated into reality. Because on paper, all plans look very beautiful, very wonderful, very attractive. Citizens accept it, politicians accept it, we bureaucrats accept it, because we bureaucrats prepare it, we accept it, we advocate it. But when it comes to implementation, due to paucity of resources or maybe due to paucity of public will, political will and bureaucratic will, these three wills which are required in order to actually ensure that there is proper planning and implementation of the plan that we prepare, there is a need for public will, which will drive political will, And when public will and political wills are together, the bureaucrats, the policy implementers have no other option but to implement it. So these three things are required. Then policy changes, fortunately, way back in 1992-93, 74th constitutional amendment was done. But till today, again, almost more than 30 years down the line, the powers which are supposed to be given to the urban local bodies in terms of financial autonomy, in terms of planning, and the areas where the local bodies can play a vital role. 73rd and 74th. 73rd Amendment for Panchayat Raj and 74th Amendment for local bodies, urban local bodies, ULBs. So if it is properly implemented, then I think there will be some change. There are some projects taken under mission mode like Smart City Mission, Urban Rejuvenation Mission, Atal Mission, all these things. But convergence of these things in accordance with the constitutional provision, that is lacking. And again, earlier I said collaboration. Government alone cannot do anything. There has to be a proper collaboration, cooperation between the public sector, a private sector, and all stakeholders. And when we talk about SDGs, we always talk about sustainable development, inclusive development, and we talk about resilient cities, climate resilient cities. Due to climate change, we have been facing a lot of problems in rural as well as urban areas. So we need to actually look for holistic planning and proper implementation of whatever we plan on paper. Thank you. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Suppose suppose a garbage heap of garbage is lying at some place. He goes to higher ups, and that is not understood. That is not removed from there. What other alternatives is having?
No,
he can just complain. He cannot do anything else.
Oh, he can complain, but again, there has to be a mechanism, complaint redressal mechanism, wherein the citizen submits his complaint to a person who is actually supposed to take action immediately. And if that person doesn't take action, there is a system, there is hierarchy. He can write to his superior, and there are three tiers. Person who is actually supposed to take action, immediate action, as soon as the complaint is received. But there are some legal procedures to be followed. So that much time has to be given by citizen. For example, removal of garbage is actually primary responsibility of the local body.
Yes.
So as soon as they receive the complaint, it has to be attended.
If it is not attended,
then the action against the culprit has to be taken.
for that he has to waste his time. For that he has to consume his time.
In order to be a better citizen and in order to have a better civic sense, the citizens should not only be in a complaining mode, they should also in a tolerance mode that till the action is taken, that garbage is removed or the person who is responsible for that removal of garbage or disposal of garbage is not working, action against that person is taken, follow is required. The responsibility of the citizen doesn't end only by lodging a complaint. It ends only when his complaint is properly attended, or if not attended, action against that particular person is taken. Officer is taken, rather.